मॉर्निंग, नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, आदाब सभी दोस्तों को। दिवाली के बाद हम आपका सबका स्वागत करते हैं। मैं डॉक्टर संदीप, मेरे साथ हैं डॉक्टर सौरभ रंजन।
नमस्कार, डॉक्टर रंजन फ्रॉम दिल्ली। आप सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का स्वागत करता हूं दिवाली की एग्जैक्ट बाद के सुबह में। दिवाली की व्यस्तताएं, उसके बाद भी हमारे साथ जितने पार्टिसिपेंट जुड़े हैं, दैट्स इंटरेस्टिंग, दैट्स फैसिनेटिंग।
और फ्रेंड्स, आज हम सिर्फ जूम पे नहीं है, हम लोग फेसबुक के ऊपर भी लाइव हैं। आप हमसे फेसबुक के ऊपर जुड़ सकते हैं। और आपको एक खुशखबरी देना चाहते हैं। आज हमारे स्पिरिचुअल डॉक्टर फॉर होलिस्टिक हेल्थ के 6 मंथ्स कंप्लीट हो गए हैं। उसके लिए इतना प्यार, स्नेह और आशीर्वाद देने के लिए आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
यस, जो एक छोटी सी शुरुआत हमने की थी वो कारवां यहाँ तक पहुँच गया है और जेपी सिंघवी सर जैसे लोग जुड़ते जा रहे हैं। इतने लोग काम कर रहे हैं, ये आभास था, प्रॉपर अंदाजा नहीं था। और पता चल रहा है मेडिटेशन पे काम करने के लिए इतने सारे डॉक्टर्स हैं, इतने सारे लोग हैं धरती पर। 100% पॉपुलेशन मेडिटेशन में एक दिन आ ही जाएगी, ऐसा मेरा पूरा विश्वास है। और
जब हमने ये चैनल स्टार्ट किया था स्पिरिचुअल डॉक्टर फॉर होलिस्टिक हेल्थ, हमने सिर्फ इतना सोचा था हम ऐसे डॉक्टर्स को अपने प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर लेके आएंगे जो सिर्फ जो मेडिसिन की पढ़ाई है उसके बिना भी बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी अपनी पेशेंट के साथ में अपने ऊपर वो यूज करते हैं जिससे हेल्थ को एक होलिस्टिक हेल्थ की तरफ बढ़ाया जा सके। तो उस कारवा में हम लोग सफल रहे हैं अभी तक हमारे 26 एपिसोड्स हो चुके हैं। टुडे इज आवर 27th एपिसोड। विद अस इज डॉक्टर जेपी सिंघवी। ही इज न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट, ही इज फैकल्टी आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग। और मैंने उनके साथ में एक सहज समाधि का सेशन लगाया था, तो उससे मेरे को एहसास हो गया ही इज ए डॉक्टर विद पैशन एंड कंपैशन। डॉक्टर सिंघवी, हम आपका स्पिरिचुअल डॉक्टर फॉर होलिस्टिक हेल्थ पे आपका स्वागत करते हैं। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए, अपना कीमती समय हमें देने के लिए। डॉक्टर सिंघवी।
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर संदीप और डॉक्टर रंजन एंड उनकी सारी टीम। तो आज मैं भी सोचा कि फेस्टिवल मूड है तो थोड़ा सा ट्रेडिशनल हो जाता हो, है ना। कभी कभी लगता है कि न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट है तो टाई वगैरह पहन के आएंगे लेकिन मुझे ऐसे नहीं लगता था आज, क्योंकि हॉस्पिटल में तो मैं पहनता ही हूँ लेकिन यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हटके है। तो आज थोड़ा सा लास्ट लेट मी शेयर माय, आई थिंक स्क्रीन शेयर करता हूँ ताकि आई थिंक मेरा सबको दिख रहा है।
स्क्रीन आपकी आ रही है डॉक्टर सिंघवी?
बस बिल्कुल ठीक है। वी आर सेट ऑल टू गो। सो I was just following this spiritual doctors group for the last few weeks, and I have attended the live on Facebook last 3 sessions. Very interesting thing. One live story I have heard, meditation sessions, and last week there was another interesting talk which was there by Dr. Sampurna. Actually, as a neurologist, researcher, scientist, and also practicing and teaching meditation, I thought I'll just take a scientific background of all these things, what has been discussed, and then I go beyond science. That was my motive why I chose this topic, brain and meditation, of course in a scientific way, and then we will go beyond science. To tell you something about me, how I became a neurologist, that's also an interesting story, because I came from a business family where डॉक्टर्स तो बहुत दूर की बात है, इवन एजुकेशन को ज्यादा इतना अहमियत नहीं दी जाती थी कि भाई बिजनेस में ही जाना है तो बिजनेस करना है. तो somehow in 12th standard I got passion for medical field, and I got my seat in MBBS way back in 1986. Then subsequently I did my MD, but there was a lot of resistance that everybody says now you start a clinic. Then I ran away from home. I was in Mumbai for a couple of years, and interesting was I was supposed to come to Chandigarh for giving an entrance exam. I was very depressed and sad at that time. And my roommate, who was already a cardiologist, Dr. Raman Chawla, he said me, Jinesh, तुम इतना मायूस क्यों हो, सुस्त क्यों हो? नहीं डॉक्टर रमन, आई थिंक पीजीआई जाना कोई आसान बात नहीं है, और वहाँ सीट भी बहुत कम है. बोले कितने सीट है पूछा उन्होंने, तो मैंने बोला 2. तो उन्होंने बोला तेरे को कितने चाहिए. Then it was suddenly eye opener for me. I needed one only, but तेरे को तो एक ही चाहिए ना, 2 है, तू 2 के लिए क्यों पीछे पड़ता है, तू चला जा, हो जाएगा. That was actually a eye opener. See, few things happen in your life. Just you know, somebody comes to you and tell, how many seats you want. I came to Chandigarh. I did my neurology, and of course I'm still an active practitioner of neurology. I have students who are doing neurology in our hospital. I handle all the emergencies. But subsequently, about 13 years ago, there was a leaflet which came in our house, and somebody registered me into a art of living course. I was very technical man, logical man. I thought this doesn't work, and I don't know whether it will work or not. This is all, and things started from there. I don't know what happens is, you लगता है ना जैसे जब गुरु के पास पहुंचना होता है, वो सीढ़ियां बनते रहती है. मेरी भी ऐसे ही सीढ़ियां बन गई, तो मैं टीचर भी बन गया. और then I got interested into not only practicing, but subsequently I thought कि some इससे research किया जाए कि what exactly this meditation and breathing technique does to the brain. That started my journey. We always get inspired by very life stories, and we intellectually progress. But मेरा एक मानना है, और मेरा ये बहुत strong feeling है कि intellectually knowledge बहुत लोगों को होता है. They are very intellectually strong, but when it comes to applying the practical things in life, and it will be a very, very uphill task. That's why we can take out a leaf from their experience, but we cannot get our experience. To get our experience, we need that we have to practice those things. Then only experientially we can be strong. As a teacher of Art of Living faculty, I conduct these 2 programs, that is meditation and breath workshop, where we teach not only knowledge, a powerful breathing technique known as Sudarshan Kriya. Millions of people have benefited. We will talk about this also. And another program where we teach purely a meditation, that is Sahaj Samadhi, Dhyan, Hope, Yoga. These are the 2 things which I teach and conduct every week. Programs are there. So lot of doctors I meet, CAs, advocates, they always ask कि इसके आप बताइए कि कैसे benefit होता है. Then these things started. Why we do the way we do. This is a very, very important concept which I have started. For everything there should be reasoning, because we will start with reasoning today. The aspects what we discussed today, first we'll reason it out, then a meditation, then followed by the beyond reasoning. We'll go. So to tell you something about the brain, as you can see, everybody have a brain within us in the head, and this is how it looks. And if you see this surface of the brain, and the undulations, gyres and sulci, what we call, and this is about 1.5 kgs, and it carries 100 billion cells. Let me repeat, 100 billion cells it has got, and each are working in tandem and coordination. And of course, how can we study brain? That is an important aspect of studying the breathing technique and various meditation programs. So we can do electrical activity, we can check when doing meditation. Then we can do a functional MRI. Somebody who are not technically very sound, it's okay, doesn't matter. But I want to tell that functional MRI is where you can see where actually the activity is going on in the brain. You can get hotspot like red things when it is increased blood supply, or you can see that area is cold by seeing a blue coloration. Third structure what I have shown is we can study the structure also by studying the thickness of the brain and change in the gray matter and white matter as well. These are the few things. There are a lot of things which we can do. And to go further on this brain is not a very cold area. It is highly charged up and active area. And see, now at present I am talking to you. You are seeing my lip movements. You are listening to me. Everything is perceived and analyzed in the brain very fast. And every area, if you see this cartoon, we have a frontal lobe, which is also area of higher intelligence. Also, you have speech area also. You have a parietal lobe there. You can see, and where the area of speech is there, taste is there, reading is there, and also orientation in space will be there. Temporal lobe is there, where association of smell, hearing, and auditory area is there, which coordinate all the sound system which we are getting as an input. Then there is a area for vision also. Similarly, there are areas of the brain where emotions are there. Like what, if you can see this, there is a red spot, which is an area of emotions. Any emotion, fear, or any strong sensations are processed in this area, what we call as amygdala. And there is an area called as hippocampus, which is area for forming, storing, and processing memory and recall also. Number 3, there is an area called as prefrontal cortex. So there is an area in the brain, in the frontal lobe, where there is a regulation of complex cognitive, emotion, and behavioral functioning. But interesting part about this prefrontal cortex is whatever I talk, whatever you listen and see my lip movements and all, within a fraction of a second, this prefrontal cortex coordinates everything, whatever the inputs are there, and it forms an appropriate output. That's what we give as a response to whatever input we gain, whether positive or negative in any of the aspects of our sensory perception. So these are the 3 areas of the brain. So to tell you, whatever we do, everything is represented in the brain. Whatever emotions, the memory, the recall, the area for memory and intuition, everything is located there. And let me tell you a very interesting thing about neuroplasticity. There is a term called as neuroplasticity, where there is a formation of new synapses as well as a reorganization which occurs. Constantly, we have seen that people with head injuries or any stroke, immediately the nature makes a reorganization pattern so that the patient can recover. Similarly, during meditation, the interesting fact occurs that there are new synaptic connections which develop, and also there is a reorganization and improved firing also. We, in a couple of decades ago, we were thinking that brain, once it is there, it cannot grow. But growing is not only in terms of the weight of the brain, but growing is in terms of new connections are formed and reorganization which occurs. This is it. So how does this brain interact with every cell? Is by electrical activity, by receptors, by neurochemicals. In the brain, there are a lot of neurochemicals also there, like serotonin, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and endorphins. Lot of neurochemical changes occur, which also help in transmitting the impulses. And also many of the drugs which psychiatrists give, they are based on these neurochemical changes. So this is a aspect of a normal brain, how it functions in day-to-day life. Now, this is a very interesting thing that everybody, since we are a spiritual doctor group, I am sure that many of you are practicing pranayama meditation as well. There is a very interesting thing which was noticed. Let me tell you a story. Way back, about a decade ago, there was a study which was conducted. There were 4 patients who had epilepsy, and they were not getting controlled with drugs, and they were supposed to be taken up for the surgery. And when they do surgery, they do a lot of tests, including one invasive EEG, what we call as, where they put electrodes in the various areas of the brain and see which area is increasingly firing. So they also put these electrodes in the area, what I described, the area for the emotions, that is amygdala, and the area for the memory and recall, that is hippocampus. They put the electrodes and checked, and they have found out a very interesting thing, that the person, when he was breathing through the nostrils, and when breathing was there through the nostrils, number 1, through the nose, number 2, with awareness. When he was breathing with awareness with the nostril, the electrical impulses were there in the hippocampus region. And when he was breathing without awareness, there was electrical impulses in the, you can see EEG changes in the area of the amygdala. And this is not the end of it. Then subsequently, when they operated the patient, and when they did, few of the patient got a tracheostomy. Then tracheostomy is just a hole in the trachea where they put. And when they were putting the puff of air here, there was no electrical activity which was noted in the brain as far as amygdala and hippocampus is concerned. Then what they did was, when they closed this and they put the puff of air here, and suddenly they found out that the area was started firing again. It means there is something there in the nose which is not there in the trachea. Then I thought of getting into this business, what exactly is this? And I found out that there is only one thing which can go in the brain, that is a nerve which smells, that is an olfactory bulb. Then I said, olfactory nerve is the only nerve which can go, and it carries a smell also. And if you see this figure which I have shown, the yellow color is the olfactory bulb, and there are some fibers, black fibers below. And when I trace this back, if you see this, what is happening, if you trace this back into the various area of the brain, there is a good amount of connections which is there in the area of emotions, that is amygdala, in the area of recall and memory, that is hippocampus, and also there is area for various temperature regulation, that is hypothalamus, and also there was a connection in the sleep area and alertness area, that is reticular formation in the area called as pons. This suggests that whatever the breathing technique which we are doing, one of the ways, there can be many ways, but one of the very important thing is it triggers the stimulus there, and particularly this breathing techniques, the Nadi Shodhan Pranayama. Subsequently, they have found out that in the thalamus and the thalamic regulator area, now it fine tunes the system so that it brings everything into alignment, the firings get better. We'll come into this again in the subsequent slides. And then once the breathing is over, you have balanced everything. Then let us go beyond this breath. Breath is there, fine, it is stimulating everything. What else is happening here? We know that our brain is divided into left half and the right half. Many of us are aware that left brain is for analysis, logic, language, reasoning, science and math, number skills, and also right hand control. Where our, as far as our right brain is concerned, it is art, creativity, intuition, insight, holistic thoughts, music, and 3D forms, which we are aware of this. These two usually work in harmony with each other. Now, problem is nowadays, many of them have become very logical, analytical people. It means the left brain is being fed more than the right brain. And what is happening is there is a difference between right and left. Actually, this difference also carries in the stress. Stress is what it is, the difference of our perception and what actually it is in our life. That itself is a stress. And similarly, we have to either bring it down, analysis, or we can make these emotions up. So that balancing is what is required. And this balancing, number one, is happening with our meditation, both the ways. And if you see this, I like this cartoon very much. If you see this orchestra, this is not a simple, ordinary, looking orchestra. For a common man, it looks like an orchestra. But for a scientist, it is nothing short of a finely tuned system like our body. If you see this orchestra regulator, the performance which has been, planned everything, the captain of this orchestra, who is, operating this, is our brain, and other musicians, various musicians which are sitting, the singers, and they are like our heart, lung, kidney, the digestive system, excretory system, hormonal system. And why I brought this is our body has to work in synchrony with each and every organ inside. If in this orchestra, even a small, player, like violin player or a guitar player or whatever the instrument is used, if he's out of tune, the whole orchestra gets, because it is interconnected, people will start leaving. Same thing happen with our body also. If the orchestra of our body is not in sync, the diseases creep in. And what is the key for making this orchestra called as body to run in order? And that is what I call, and Patanjali Yoga Sutra has told us, yoga. Many of us believe that yoga is, of course, since here this is a spiritual doctors group, lot of spiritual people, they know it, but a common man says yoga means just a twisting and turning of a body parts. But it is not like that. Yoga is a constellation of what Patanjali has told, the Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs of yoga. That is Yam Niyam. Yam Niyam is how we take care of our body, our mind, and how we approach the people around us, how we keep our body clean in terms of all the aspects. Then comes the asana, various movements of the body which we do. Then pranayam is the breathing technique. The pratyahara is restraining our senses. Then dharana, that is focusing your concentration. Then dhyana is meditation. Samadhi is the union. We are going to talk about the dhyana and union, and we will practically experience this. That is about the yoga. Yoga brings the important aspect of all the beings in a unison. And now, if you see this in the brain, we'll just keep on correlating the individual aspect of yoga and meditation along with our brain. The right and left brain, when I was talking about the balance, there is a connection between right and left brain, what we call as corpus callosum, which bridges both the area. And when we feed the right brain or left brain, or when we do pranayam, the breathing technique, the right and left brain get synchronous. And when this gets synchronous, the person not only becomes sensitive, but also becomes sensible. Because in life, we want both sensibility and sensitivity in balance. Because we have seen people who are sensitive, they are not sensible, and people who are sensible, they are not sensitive. And when we bring balance between right and left brain, which with meditation and pranayama occurs, we balance this two system, left and right brain. Another important aspect is, see, we are a social being. We want to be sleeping well, eating right, exercise, and also we want a emotional, physical, and well-being also by connecting with other people as well. It has been seen that people who are lonely, when they did a functional MRI of these people who are lonely and people who are feeling loneliness, their three-dimensional picture of this functional MRI shown that one of the area of the brain, that is parietal lobe, gets into a red spot, boiling. Both were boiling, and there was a significant mental, emotional, and physical challenges which has been faced by these people. The moment they did meditation, during the first meditation of that person, immediately that parietal lobe started changing the color and become cooled off. This is second important thing which has been brought into the system, why we should do meditation. Because one thing I am sure, the people will come into your life and go from your life. Everything will come and go, but meditation will remain with you and will make cancellation of all this detrimental mental, emotional, and physical effects of loneliness. That is another scientific evidence which has come up. Third is the area for amygdala. These two areas which I am discussing, like three areas, which are very, very interesting as far as the research is concerned. The amygdala, as we know, it is an area of fear or emotional sensitivity, and it has been seen that people who are fearful, emotionally unstable, their amygdala is slightly, thicker, robust. It means it is causing more havoc. In meditators, it has been seen that this amygdala area has changed its structure. It actually, in fact, shrunk over a period of time, and electrical activity has almost been silenced in meditator. It means meditation transforms your stress response and anxiety and makes you fearless. And actually, when these are gone, your anxiety, worry, and everything disappear. Second area is the hippocampus. Hippocampus, I have told you, it's an area for recall and memory, and also it has been seen in people with depression and memory impairment. This area shrinks, number one. Number two, there are scars on this area. But meditation, within 8 weeks of meditation, there were newer connections which are formed within this area. Hippocampus becomes robust, strong, and the person got out of its depression. His memory got better. Neural thickness, density, and overall size has improved significantly in the people doing a regular meditators. That is the second area. The other aspect is, in life, we always think that I achieved this big thing in life. Like, for example, over a period of time when I did my neurology, I finished my neurology. But over a period of time, I was thinking that I should get a fellowship from American Academy of Neurology. I tried hard, but it took me very long time. And when I sent, I have to attend and read papers, write papers, and publish papers also for this. 7 times I went to USA for all these things and to get a fellowship. And a couple of years ago, suddenly when I added my resume that I am interested also in primary prevention, like we have a holistic doctors team here. Holistic means the approach where we can always think that if the disease has not come, how to prevent a disease before it occurs. That's a holistic approach of life. Same thing when I have added that I am also a faculty at Art of Living, and I am doing work on primary prevention, yoga, meditation, and this added to that. And immediately when I published a paper in neurology plus this, and they came up with, they offered me this fellowship a couple of years ago. Then that's how I became a fellow. And it is thanks to all this yoga and meditation, which I've been teaching and doing. And we always think that achieving something or gaining something is very important in life. Of course, they are important to an extent, but when it comes to giving and making a life of others more beautiful, and that is what is compassion. And it has been seen that people who are regular meditators, if you see this brain diagram, there is an area called as anterior insula, the red area which has been focused here. That area got changed with people who were doing regular meditation, and this is the area for compassion. Their compassion becomes better because of the change in the architecture of this area. Then comes emotional intelligence. See, to get into a job, to get into a program like medical program, engineering program, your IQ is good enough. But to sustain that in life, IQ is not enough. We want something called as emotional intelligence as well. It means how you approach the other people with your emotions, how you see the angle of other people and maintain those practical aspects, keeping yourself calm down. That is what is all emotional intelligence. And it has been seen that the area, there is a junction called as temporoparietal junction, which is the area for emotional intelligence. Again, the architecture of this, the neuronal plasticity has improved and significantly got better. And people who are meditators, their emotional quotient was found to be much higher than people non-meditators. And another aspect of the brain is a prefrontal cortex. You know why this is called as emperor of the brain? Because this is a thought orchestrator of the brain. Anything complex planning, deeper thinking, or higher level of decision making, if we have to do, this is the area which coordinates everything within a fraction of a second. See, many times if you see people who are a meditator, who are having a higher IQ, higher EQ, the first word of a person who is talking is enough to know whole sentence. It means the first sentence it goes, he reads the lip movement, he hears, and same everything is fed into the prefrontal cortex, everything is processed, a response is immediately generated. It needs less than a second for a higher intelligence person to know about the other person's perception. And this is what is being done by prefrontal cortex. And if you see different areas of the brain, if they fight for an election, the prefrontal cortex will become a winner and he will become the emperor of that brain. So it has been seen that meditation, it thickens the gray matter of this prefrontal cortex, and people becomes the intelligence level of these people got much better. They can do multitasking, and any complex task which is there, they can do it with ease. And the other aspect is the sleep. Predominantly nowadays in the OPD, in the private practice, many people come that I have lack of sleep. Interesting aspect is, I hear people that I sleep for 4 hours, particularly people like our Sri Ravi Shankar is there, Gurudev is there, even our Prime Minister of India is there. They sleep for about 4 hours a day, but that keeps them charged 20 hours subsequently. How it is possible? There is in the sleep, we are having REM sleep and NREM sleep. That is a random rapid eye movement sleep. We need a deep REM sleep for 2 hours in that 8-hour sleep to make everything back into action. What happens in sleep is we want a rejuvenation, repair work, all the cells gets changed, many cells gets changed, and everything, the protein secretions and immunity cells, everything are produced during our deep rest. And if a person sleeps 8 hours or 4 hours, if that 2 hours of deep REM sleep is completed, he gets charged and for next day is full awake. There was a study done by this Harvard and Stanford group. They showed that meditation, they're powered by this magic of neuroplasticity, build up a big and strong sleep center called as pons. And it has been seen that people who meditate, they get a sound sleep, they recharge very early, they actually need lesser sleep. It means people who say after 9 or 10 hours of sleep, I am not getting adequate, I get up zombie in the morning. It means that an REM sleep is not there with them, that 2 hours, rejuvenation is not occurring. And meditation improves sleep as well. So this is an aspect about the brain, and the brain controls everything in the body. And this body, whatever we, get control, how we do it, that is an automatic system. Like when we sleep, our heart is working, our digestive system is working, our respiration is happening, excretion is happening, everything is happening. This is occurring by a system called as autonomic nervous system, which has two parts, sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. Everybody knows sympathetic system is fight and flight, and rest and digestion by parasympathetic system. Again, it has been seen that people who are, type A personality, fast, always moving, always on their toes, their sympathetic system is again on a higher side. And these are the people where it is seen that their one nerve, that is what we call as vagus nerve, it shows dysfunctioning or malfunction is there. Because subsequently, it has been found out that people who are anxious, or you can say that what are the symptoms of this vagus nerve dysfunction? Anxiety, palpitation, perspiration, irritable bowel disease, autoimmune disease, memory problem, concentration issues, interpersonal relationships, happiness, everything is taken for a toss where the dysfunction of vagus nerve has been seen. And this vagus nerve is very, very important for the connection between our not only parasympathetic and sympathetic system, but also conscious and subconscious mind. The connection, the biotransformational route, all the base, every information is stored here, and between that will be a transportation. And further, there is something called as solar plexus, what we call. From there also the nerve goes into brain. 90% of the brain goes through the vagus nerve into the brain. And this vagus means a wanderer. If you see this yellow structure, it goes right from the head to the lower abdomen. It supplies everywhere from the pharynx, heart, lung, liver, every system it connects. And few of the people, they may be interested that, when doing meditation, there is something called as Sushumna Nadi, or a central nerve, a cord-like structure. When I discussed with various masters, they said vagus nerve is nothing but that central nadi. That's why the diagram which has come here as a central nadi, and that is what is important about this vagus nerve. And if you see this symptoms of vagus nerve, I have already discussed about this loss of appetite, heartburn, everything is there. And researchers have told that the vagus nerve does more than just help physically. It assists mind-body connections, any small nuances like eye contact, emotions, communication skills, everything is taken care by the vagus nerve. And also it manages the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone essential for birth and relationship. So how can we, manually and naturally stimulate the vagus nerve? Because if you see this next, people in severe depression and few people with epilepsy, we have a device called as vagus nerve stimulator. which is implanted as shown here. Of course, expensive, maybe 8 lakhs, 10 lakh rupees with all its complications which are there. And this is used in severe depression and epilepsy patients as well. And when they put this electrode and trigger that stimulates the vagus nerve and it brings up the changes, it acts as an antidepressant, particularly in the severe case. And of course, when antidepressants are given, they act by changing the chemicals in the vagus nerve as well as in the brain. So if you see this, vagus nerve can be manually stimulated and naturally stimulated and set into motion by one of the techniques. Of course, breathing techniques are there. Significant studies have been taken care as far as Sudarshan Kriya is concerned. In Sudarshan Kriya, it has been found that it manually overrides and also triggers and also aligns the vagus nerve by different rhythm of the breath. And further, they have found out that when we put a vagus nerve stimulator, it can stimulate a single focus and fibers. But when we breathe into different rhythms, different thickness of fibers can be stimulated in a different way. So this is a very, very important revelation. One should understand about the autonomic nervous system and vagus nerve as well. So right meditation and breathing technique, right from brain to autonomic nervous system and to the vagus nerve, it causes significant betterment and positive responses there. We have spoken about the science. Now, people who are regularly, when we do a regular meditation kriya, a stage will come that intellectually I've understood that this is going to bring the changes in my life. My anxiety is going to get better. I get emotionally stable. My memory gets better. I feel more relaxed, more calm down. Everything, comes in order. Scientifically, everything is coming up. But always a quest comes. What next? And that is what is beyond science. And it is always said, words become very short in explaining these things. But time immemorial, various masters have, tried to give a hint. As a human being, which we have a cushion in a positive way, that is our mind. Our mind is the biggest barrier in either way. People who are not aware, who live an animalistic life, whose systems are regulated by the nature's law, their sleeping habits, their procreation, recreational habits, their eating habits, these things also occur because there is no mind in these people. The mind doesn't come in between. They go automatic mode. But people who have become aware of all this, they have achieved something to an extent that they are aware of each and every activity of this. And this also happens intellectually and through our mind. And the problem with the mind is, mind belongs to us. It cannot conceive with its own power a higher power. It means let go phenomena has to be applied here also. At one stage, you have to let go of your mind as well as effort. Because as it has been seen that everybody is born with a seed called as not okay seed. We try to analyze and correct every event, every aspect, every situation. But we are unable to correct over a period of time. If we see, it is just like organizing clouds in the sky, which is very difficult thing. How can we organize clouds? Same thing, when we bent upon using our mind intellectually, it doesn't happen. This, with deep introspection and meditation, when we let go of our mind also, we allow the divine power to work upon us. When the divine power works, and it works only when our seat is clean and we let go of our mind, that we say, thy will be done, I surrender to the divine, and things start happening. Here, I kept my slide blank because there is nothing to write there. It is a quest. Intellectual or individual experience has to be, challenge. Is just like peeling the onion and seeing who am I, and see where we reach. And that is actually beyond science. So same thing when we do breathing technique, like we are closing our eyes, we are just breathing in and breathing out. We are aware of breathing in and breathing out. To an extent, it is a very good, everything system is balanced. The cosmic energy comes and it heals everything. But the next is, you have to let go of that breath also. You have to let go of awareness of that breath also. That is what we call as a true spiritual speaker will dawn in you. Knowledge and love. Knowledge, which will tell that there is no other, and love says whole world is one. With that, with this simple, I want to sing one Kabir, few lines from Kabir. Hope you like it. मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे। ना मूरत में, ना तीरथ में, ना एकांत वास में, ना मंदिर में, ना मस्जिद में, ना मैं काबा कैलाश में। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे। खोजो तो तुरंत मिल जाऊं, पल भर की तलाश में। कहत कभी सुनो भाई साधो, मैं तो हूँ विश्वास में। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे।